Okay, for the market analysis, this is part 2 of our Thursday session. We are going to start with volatility 25. Let us look at what has happened on V25. Notice how for the past several weeks, actually the beginning of the year, we have been targeting liquidity zones and taking them out, or these liquidity zones. And from the previous week, we had spoken of a minor pullback that was going to come into this order block. So let me just highlight it into this order block right here. And then we were anticipating that we would go further to the downside and maybe take out these lows down here as well. However, clearly we can see that we've got an opposing point of interest that was able to hold price and then push it upwards to break even this high to set a new market structure high. So the moment that has happened there, we know very well that this is a change of character. And what we are now expecting to see here is to have this as our new market structure range, and looking into this one as our order block where price may potentially come into for us to get a reaction to the upside. So we have shifted our bias now. We are looking up, and what we need to look for on V25 is for price to come into that discounted area. When it gets into this discounted area, we should be able to then take some buys with this as our stop loss and targeting the next liquidity, which is this high up here. This is a long-term setup. So what we can do for now, for those who are comfortable with it, is to sell into this discounted area. So you go on the lower time frame, you start identifying sells into this area. And once we get into this area, we start identifying buys back to the upside. This is a very good trade. It's a 4:1, a very healthy trade right there. Let's move on to step. Coming in on step. Okay, let me just okay. Step, I've been covering step the whole week, where I was talking about it coming into this fair value gap here. We are exactly in there. So the expectation here is that price should be able to then buy back to the upside and clear these relatively equal highs as it grabs liquidity at this point right here. We kind of got that on this candle right here. Today is also another reaction in line with that. We look to be going well. So for step, the bias is buys. Just go on the lower time frame and identify valid buy setups as we continue. This will only be invalidated if we move lower than this point here, where this trade will then become null and void and we have to reanalyze. But for now, this is what I'm looking at on step index. It's also another very decent long-term setup that we can also capitalize from. So let's just go ahead and do this on step index. Crash 300. Okay, so from last week, from what we covered last week, clearly Crash 300 broke this high. It has also broken this high. It has also broken this high in one move. So this is a very, very big liquidity hunt. We can expect it to come for all these other highs here. However, we may start to experience minor pullbacks, as this is the first down candle in a very long time. So we may expect minor pullbacks, but a continuation to the upside as we seem to be going for all the liquidity that is residing on the previous leg that was moving down. Let us go on into gold. Okay. With gold, it's an uptrend. Overall, it's an uptrend. That is what we need to continue watching. However, we set a high there. And if we are to take anything from this, we are looking at potentially this low and that high being a market structure range. But then it is also engulfed into this one right here. So we can either watch it from here or we can watch it from here. But what we can expect is a minor pullback even into this very candle, the one that we are also considering. So let me just mark it out. We may potentially come into this area, and if we do come into this area, if we get reactions, we might push higher, or we may go all the way down even into this order block down here. So either here or there, these are both valid entries that we can make use of depending on where we reject from gold, but the expectation is that long term this is still an uptrend. However, on the lower time frame, we might scalp some sells back into these two zones right here. Let's move on to US 30. Where is Black Bull? Where is Black Bull? Okay, there. Okay, on US 30, very funny market, but we'll try and, okay, we've got a big gap here. So whenever we have a gap, that's an imbalance. Price is striving towards coming back into that gap. So let's look forward to price coming into this gap. When price gets into this gap, we may actually get our buy setup from there, because notice how we had a low, a high, we broke above, we broke above, we broke above, and this is the high. So we're pulling back into the gap. We should be able to take the trade from the gap right here. Our first target can be this, but looking left, we've got liquidity all the way in these areas. So we might as well set it to look like this. Let's see if we can get into this gap and react. If we do, we go on the lower time frame, we start buying this back to the upside as a continuation of what's already happening there. Go on to NASDAQ. Okay, Black Bull. Oh yeah, that's fine. So with NASDAQ, we also have a gap, but in this case, we traded into the gap. And after trading into the gap, we breached the gap and went lower than the gap itself. Here we had a fake out where we seemed to have rejected from it, but we moved lower. And after breaking lower than this, then we need to consider other things. The bias is still, we broke this high, we broke this high, and we've got this high. So this is a pullback in a major time, dealing range where we've got this overall, and at these lows down here, we've got our order blocks down here. So since we invalidated this, we can expect price to come and reject from this area. If it does reject from this area, we can get into some buys from this and target this is our nearest target. However, if you notice right now, we may actually react from this fair value gap, which is also part of the gap, this big gap right here. So notice if price fails to close below this, right now it is just weak. If it closes above, it may potentially start buying from here and actually go to the upside. So that is also something we need to look out for there and be aware of, as that may also be a reason why this market decides to turn around from here. Let's do a bit of GBP USD. Okay, Rwanda. Okay, what's going on with the pound dollar? Let's see. Okay. After a long uptrend, we had a slight change of character. We started presenting downtrends, and we broke above, but we did not close above. So this might actually be a liquidity grab for a continuation to the downside. Okay, let me just highlight that. So what I am looking at here is potentially this could just be a liquidity grab, and we need to continue looking down, starting from the move that actually caused the change of character. We've then had a lower high, lower high, moved above, grabbed liquidity, and also after grabbing liquidity, if you look left here, clearly we can see we were coming into this fair value gap here. So after respecting that, we may potentially head down. So I'm more inclined to sales on GBP USD. Looking left, we have, okay, sorry, let me take that again. I'm more inclined to sales here. Looking left, we are potentially looking at some areas such as these ones where price may actually sell into. Not only that, we've got many reasons down here. Notice the imbalance that was left even all the way down here. So something like this can be our target long term. We can be expecting price to come all the way into this area down here. So this is what we can do on pound dollar. Let us go on the lower time frame, try and identify sales to the downside that come into these zones right here. I guess this is it for our Thursday market analysis. Let me know if I've left some markets out so that we can also cover those and send. For those who have questions, feel free to follow up in the chat. We'll be able to help each other in there on refining these setups, but please take note of these and watch them as they happen. Some are potentially going to be very rewarding if you catch them the right way. So all the best this trading week, and let's meet each other next week, Thursday.